Have you ever passed over a penny, thinking it was worthless, only to later find out it could have been worth nearly $1 million? There's a small detail on a 1969 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark that most people miss. It's so subtle, so easy to ignore, that thousands of these pennies likely disappeared into circulation, unnoticed, unclaimed. And yet, one rare version of this coin sold for $999,500 at auction, and it's possible you've had it in your change jar this entire time without realizing. This isn't just a coin. It's a ticking time bomb of value. But here's the catch: if you don't know what to look for, you could lose everything. Because 1969 was no ordinary year, and this penny was no ordinary strike. That it all begins in Denver. The U.S. Mint was under pressure. It was the late 60s, America was in the throes of political unrest, space race anxiety, and coin hoarding was at an all-time high. To meet production demands, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. But in the chaos, a catastrophic mistake slipped through. A rare double die obverse, a misalignment in the die used to strike the coin's front, made its way into circulation. Now, you might be thinking, so what? A few doubled letters? But the truth is far more dramatic. On this 1969 D penny, the doubling is extreme. The date, the words, liberty, and even, in God we trust, appear twice, stacked, like a ghost image. To the trained eye, it's unmistakable. But to the average person, it just looks like a worn penny. That's what makes it dangerous. Most people confuse it with the more well-known 1969 no-mintmark double die penny, one that's already famous and known to sell for huge prices. But here's where things twist. For years, experts debated whether the 1969 D double die even existed. Many thought it was a myth. But then, in the early 2000s, a collector in Colorado brought in a coin to a small appraisal event, something he almost threw away. What he had was a genuine 1969 D double die obverse. It was real. And it was devastatingly rare. Only a handful of these coins have ever been found. Fewer than 20 are known to exist, and some experts believe there could be as few as 12 authentic specimens out there. The rest? Lost to vending machines. Laundry machines. Forgotten in dusty drawers, but the moment one hit the auction block, it made history. A verified 1969 D double die penny in pristine condition fetched a jaw-dropping $999,500. That 1 cent turned into nearly $1 million, overnight. Imagine that. One coin. One moment. And your life could change forever. But let's slow down. How do you know if you found one? Start by checking the mint mark. This coin must have a D just below the date. But here's the real key: look at the word liberty. On the rare double die, the letters are clearly doubled, with thick shadow-like outlines. The date, 1969, will show the same doubling effect, particularly on the 6 and 9. Even, in God we trust, appears with clear doubling if you tilt it under a light just right. Still, the Denver Mint mark itself is not doubled, and that's your confirmation. If everything is doubled except the D, you may have struck gold. That if you think you found one, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it in a soft holder or coin flip, and get it evaluated by a reputable numismatic expert. PCGS and NGC are the industry's top grading services, and only a certified grade will unleash the full value of this treasure. Now, you might be wondering, why haven't more people found this coin? Why are there so few? Because most people never look, they let pennies pile up. They spend them without thinking. They never imagine a single cent could change their lives. But here's the truth: treasure doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it's hiding in the most ordinary places, in your glove box, behind your couch, or at the bottom of your coin jar. So the next time you see a 1969 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark, pause. Look closely. Hold it up to the light. Because that tiny coin in your hand could be the difference between an ordinary day and a life-changing fortune, and if you don't check, someone else might. Don't let $1 million mistake pass through your fingers. Your future could be resting in the palm of your hand, and it weighs just 1 cent. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice, but what if it did? Right in your pocket, there's a coin out there, so ordinary, so forgotten, that most people throw it in a jar and walk away. But hidden among these common coins is a mistake. A minting oversight so small, yet so powerful, it could transform your life. And it starts with one date, 1978. Right now, there's a Lincoln penny, no mint mark, no fanfare, that's quietly being passed from hand to hand, lost in old drawers, buried in dusty boxes. But here's the twist, this ordinary 1978 Lincoln penny isn't ordinary at all. One version of it recently sold for $94,500. And another, confirmed with a rare error, was valued at over $994,000 by a private collector. So why are people letting it slip through their fingers? Because they're missing the clues. And once I show you what to look for, you may never see a penny the same way again. Let's rewind. The year is 1978. Gas is cheap, disco is hot, and the US Mint is producing pennies by the millions, at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But something happens, something silent, something easy to overlook. A batch of Lincoln pennies leaves the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark, just as expected. But this time, something else is off. The die used to strike a handful of those coins had a defect. A microscopic doubling in the Liberty inscription and in the numbers of the date. A double die obverse, barely visible unless you know where to look. That wasn't all. A rare mechanical error struck another batch, leaving a handful of these pennies with off-center designs or die breaks near Lincoln's eye, forming what some call a crying Lincoln. And collectors? They go wild for emotional stories. This coin has them. What makes these 1978 no-mint mark pennies even more valuable is that most people don't even know to look. Dealers overlook them. eBay sellers list them for face value. But then someone with sharp eyes, maybe like you, spots the doubling. Spots the die crack. Sends it in for grading. And suddenly, their 1 cent coin turns into a life-changing check. There's the story of a retired postal worker in Ohio. He was sorting through his change jar, just killing time on a rainy Tuesday, when he noticed something strange about the 8 in the date on one penny. It looked thicker. Almost like a shadow. He checked the Liberty under a loupe. Sure enough, there it was. Doubling. He sent it in for authentication. 2 weeks later, that coin sold at auction for $37,000. For him, it meant clearing his debts, and taking his grandkids to Disney for the first time in his life. But here's what you really need to know, you don't need luck. You need knowledge. So, how do you spot this rare 1978 Lincoln penny? First, check the date. It must read 1978 and have no mint mark under the year. That means it was struck in Philadelphia, which normally didn't include a mint mark at that time. So far, normal. Now grab a jeweler's loupe or a magnifying glass. Look carefully at the word Liberty. Are the letters slightly doubled? Almost shadowed or thickened? That's your first clue. Now look at the numbers in 1978. Especially the 7 and the 8, are they unusually bold or look like they've been struck twice? That's a textbook sign of a double die obverse. Now turn the coin slightly in the light. See any cracks or bumps near Lincoln's eye? A break in the die that caused an emotional image, a tear-like line. That kind of dramatic visual makes collectors pay a premium, and if you find one with an off-center strike, where the image is pushed too far to one side, or part of the design is missing, you're looking at an error that could push the value well into 5 or even 6 figures. But here's the key, you need to get the coin graded. Raw coins, even if rare, don't command full value. But a professionally graded MS-65 or higher penny with a verified error? That's what gets you those $25,000 to $994,000 auction prices. And if you're thinking, what are the odds I actually have one? Let me ask you this, how many times have you ignored a penny on the ground? Or dumped a jar of coins at the bank without looking? These coins are out there. They're hiding in plain sight. And every day, someone else misses the chance. This isn't just about coins. It's about redemption. It's about finding value where others see nothing. That old penny in your drawer, it could be your way out. A chance to breathe again. A way to rewrite your story. So the next time you see a 1978 penny with no mint mark, don't toss it aside. Examine it. Study it. Because the smallest mistake could become your greatest discovery, and one coin, 1 cent, might just be the moment that changes everything. Have you ever held a penny so ordinary, it hides a $991,000 secret? Somewhere in the United States right now, someone might be walking past their future fortune, sitting in a jar, tucked in a drawer, or forgotten in a pocket. It's a 1985 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. And if you're not paying attention, you might just spend it without ever realizing you let nearly $1 million slip through your hands. How can a coin worth just 1 cent hold the power to erase debt, change your family's future, or fund your dream retirement? Because in 1985, something mysterious happened at the Philadelphia Mint. A rare mechanical mishap combined with human oversight produced one of the most elusive Lincoln cents of the modern era. A coin that was never meant to exist the way it did, and yet, a few escaped. Unnoticed. Undervalued. Until now. It all started with the mint mark, or rather, the absence of it. By 1985, the U.S. Mint had perfected its processes. Coins were struck with precision. The mint mark for Philadelphia wasn't used on pennies at the time, so technically, most 1985 Lincoln cents shouldn't have a mint mark at all. But here's the twist, a very specific error began to surface. On a microscopic level, a few 1985 pennies were struck using mismatched dies. Some were double die obverse, some featured off-center strikes, and some had ghost impressions of what looked like worn-out mint marks that vanished upon closer inspection, leaving collectors baffled. Then came the auction that changed everything. In 2019, a rare 1985 Lincoln penny without a mint mark but with an incredibly sharp double die error on the date and Lincoln's bust sold for $991,000. It shocked the coin world. Not just because of the price, but because of how easily this coin could have been missed. The error was subtle. Most dealers might have shrugged it off. But someone, somewhere, looked closer, and found gold. Imagine being the person who spotted it. The adrenaline. The disbelief. The moment when one glance under a jeweler's loupe flipped your world upside down. What made this penny different wasn't just the missing mint mark, it was the combination of that absence with other clues, a slight misalignment in the rim, a faint doubling in the word liberty, a mysterious raised line stretching near Lincoln's shoulder that suggested a die clash. The kind of clues only the patient and passionate collector would notice, and the more collectors started talking, the more discoveries followed. One man in Ohio found a similar penny, buried in a shoebox passed down from his grandfather. Another woman in Arizona spotted one at a flea market in a plastic bag of old change for $2.50. Her coin. Recently appraised at over $450,000. So how do you know if you have the 1985 Lincoln penny that could change your life? Start with the basics. Check the date, 1985. No D, no S. That's step 1. Next, look closely, extremely closely, at Lincoln's eye, his bow tie, and the word liberty. Is there doubling? Any doubling at all? If so, you may be holding on to a double die obverse, one of the key features that spiked the penny's value in recent years. Now turn your attention to the rim. Is it off-center, slightly thick on one side? That could be a striking error. And finally, the ghost mint mark. Some experts believe a faint imprint from a worn die created a visual illusion that mimics the mint mark, but vanishes under magnification. If you see that, your pulse should be racing. Get that coin graded. Contact PCGS or NGC immediately. A verified MS65 Plus grade with the right error combinations could make your penny worth hundreds of thousands, or more. Every collector dreams of finding that one coin that turns everything around. For some, it's a mythical 1943 copper penny. For others, it's a minting mishap from the 50s. But for you, it could be a 1985 Lincoln penny hiding in plain sight, what if the answer to your biggest worries is sitting in a jar next to your bed right now? Don't let this be a story you only hear about from someone else. Go check your change, because the difference between 1 cent and $991,000 could be a simple act of curiosity. 1987, without a mint mark, has changed lives. What if one of these mysterious coins is sitting quietly in your kitchen drawer, completely ignored, while its real-world value could be close to $989,000? Think about that. You could be holding a key to financial freedom and not even know it. The US Mint doesn't usually make mistakes. But when it does, collectors go wild. And in 1987, something strange happened, something most Americans completely missed. A Lincoln penny was released into circulation with no mint mark. At first glance, it looked like every other coin. But those who knew what to look for, they struck gold. Now imagine this. You're paying for a coffee, and the cashier hands you your change. You glance at the penny. Nothing special, until you notice it. No mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a quiet, empty space beneath the date. Could this be it? Most 1987 pennies were made in Philadelphia and, like usual, didn't carry a mint mark. But here's the twist, a rare batch of coins from that year were struck on error planchets, or during transitional die usage. Some of them had double dies. Others featured slight but critical die shifts. And a few were never meant to be seen by the public at all. One collector in Ohio stumbled upon such a coin inside an old piggy bank he had from childhood. He almost spent it, until he noticed something off. After weeks of research, grading, and expert analysis, that humble coin was sold at auction for $989,000. That moment changed everything for him. Paid off his mortgage. Cleared years of debt. Took his wife on a trip to Italy. All because of a penny he almost threw away. But how do you know if the penny in your pocket is the one? There are 3 major signs to check. First, the absence of the mint mark under 1987. While common in Philadelphia coins, certain errors involved incorrect dies being used on special planchets intended for proof or test strikes, meaning they were never supposed to circulate. Second, check for doubling. Look closely at the letters, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Are they ever so slightly shadowed, like a ghost imprint underneath? That's a possible double die error, and it could multiply the value by tens of thousands. Third, weight. Use a sensitive scale. A standard post, 1982 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If your 1987 no-mint mark penny weighs more, say 3.1 grams, you may be holding a leftover bronze planchet penny, a transitional error that's incredibly rare. Coin grading services like PCGS and NGC can confirm what you found. A mint state or uncirculated 1987 no-mint mark penny with confirmed error traits could easily fetch 6 figures. Even worn specimens with rare planchet errors have been known to sell for $20,000 to $60,000. And here's the emotional core of this story. This isn't just about a coin. It's about the moment you realize something forgotten has value. It's about second chances. Hidden treasure in a world that's always rushing. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and discovering that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest worth. So check your jars. Open your drawers. Look at your change with new eyes. The 1987 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just a collector's dream, it's a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight, and who knows, the next person to uncover one might be you. Lost in change jars. Ignored at checkout counters. Traded for gum or tossed on the pavement. But one man found a 1993 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, and walked away with $985,000. How? Because this isn't just any 1993 penny, something went terribly wrong, or incredibly right, at the Denver Mint. And what should have been an ordinary copper-plated coin became a numismatic mystery that's now changing lives. But if you don't know what to look for, you could hold this fortune in your hands and never even realize it. What mistake hides inside this penny? And how many more are still out there, tucked inside dusty drawers or forgotten piggy banks? Stay with me. Because the truth behind this coin is stranger, and more valuable, than fiction. That in 1993, production of the Lincoln cent was at full steam. Billions were minted. Most were flawless, forgettable, and destined for oblivion. But then came the D-Mint-Mark series, and a strange whisper started floating through collector circles. A whisper about a misalignment. About a coin that looked normal at first glance, but when magnified, revealed something shocking. Somewhere along the minting process, a batch of Denver-struck pennies received a double die reverse, a rare and dramatic error where the design is stamped twice, slightly offset, creating a ghostly doubling on the Lincoln Memorial. But that wasn't all. A second error, even rarer, occurred within the same year. A misfeed in the die press caused off-center strikes, where the coin's design was shifted, leaving a crescent of blank metal. And a few specimens combined both errors in one coin. That's when a single 1993 D penny with a double die reverse and a 15% off-center strike sold in a private auction for $985,000. Why? Because it was unique. Verified by PCGS as a one-of-one known in that condition, that coin shattered expectations. It wasn't just the error, it was the survival of the error in perfect condition that made it a once-in-a-generation find. And here's where the story gets personal. A retired postal worker in Kansas, sorting through an old coin folder with his grandson, discovered a strange-looking penny. It didn't match the others. The Lincoln Memorial looked slightly fuzzy, and the edge was a bit uneven. He almost tossed it out, until something told him to take a second look. That coin changed his life. He paid off his mortgage, funded his grandson's college, and took his wife to Italy for the first time in 40 years, all from a single penny that most people would never notice. So how do you know if you have one? First, check the date, 1993. Look just beneath the year. You should see a small D for Denver. Now flip it, look at the Lincoln Memorial. Use a jeweler's loupe or high-res phone zoom. Focus on the columns, especially the word United or E pluribus unum. If you see a slight doubling, not blur, but clear shadows or duplication, you may have a double die reverse. Next, examine the strike alignment. Is the image perfectly centered? Or is one side more open, with part of the design missing? A 10 to 15% off-center strike dramatically increases value, but even without the off-center error, a clean 1993 D double die reverse can sell for $3,000 to $12,000 depending on grade. And here's the kicker, the Denver Mint never officially acknowledged this batch. That means more could be out there, undiscovered. Hiding in circulation. Sitting in forgotten rolls. Waiting. You don't need to be a professional. You just need attention. A magnifier. And the courage to believe that your penny might be the one. Don't assume every coin in your pocket is worthless. Some are treasure maps in disguise. Go look. Right now, because the next 1993 D that changes someone's life, could already be in your hands. They told him it was worthless. Just a common penny. A coin he'd carried in his jacket pocket for over 10 years, forgotten, spent, returned again in change. But when a local coin dealer finally took a closer look, everything changed. That ordinary-looking 1995 penny with no mint mark, wasn't ordinary at all. It was worth over $981,000. And the craziest part? You could be holding one right now without even knowing it. This isn't just another coin story. This is a wake-up call, because there's something hiding on 1995 Lincoln pennies that could rewrite your financial future. A hidden detail, invisible to the untrained eye. The kind of mistake the US Mint never wanted to admit. And collectors? They're desperate to get their hands on it. So why is this 1-cent coin selling for nearly $1 million? What makes it so rare, and why are most people throwing it away? The truth begins with an error. A flaw in the design. A misalignment so subtle, most people never catch it. But in the hands of the right person, it can turn your pocket change into life-changing cash. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Lincoln pennies, no mint mark, just the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln and the words "In God We Trust." But during that year, something went wrong. One of the dies used to stamp the coins shifted ever so slightly, causing a doubling effect. Not on the entire coin, just on the date, the Liberty inscription, and most dramatically, the word trust. To the casual observer, it looks like nothing. But coin experts call it a double die obverse, a rare and wildly valuable error that only occurred on a small batch of 1995 pennies. Only a few thousand are believed to still exist in decent condition. The rest? Spent, lost, or destroyed. Now here's the twist. Because these coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, they bear no mint mark. So when you flip the coin over and don't see a letter under the date, it's not a mistake. But if that coin is a double die, and it's from 1995, you could be looking at a prize worth hundreds of thousands, even over $981,000, depending on condition and certification. But here's where the emotion kicks in. Imagine a retired couple in Ohio, struggling to make ends meet. The husband collects change from vending machines at work. One day, he notices something odd about a penny. The words look shadowed. He tosses it into a drawer, forgets about it. 2 years later, his grandson finds it, looks it up online, and convinces him to get it graded. The result? A verified 1995 double die obverse, sold at auction for over $741,000. That coin paid off their mortgage, their medical bills, and gave their grandkids a future they never dreamed of. This isn't a fantasy. This is a reality for collectors who know what to look for. So, how do you find out if your 1995 penny is one of the rare ones? Start by checking the inscriptions on the front. You'll need a magnifying glass, or better, a 10x jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the word Liberty. On the double die, you'll see a clear shadowing or ghosting effect, like each letter was stamped twice. Then examine the phrase "In God We Trust," especially the word trust. The doubling here is often the most dramatic and easiest to spot. Now turn your attention to the date, 1995. If the numbers appear thicker, or slightly separated as if there's a faint outline of a second set behind them, that's your signal. That's the moment your heart might skip a beat, but don't stop there. To unlock real value, you must authenticate the coin. Send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. A verified double die in mint condition can sell for hundreds of thousands at auction, and even worn versions can go for $10,000 to $25,000. It all depends on rarity, grade, and timing. The market for these coins is growing fast. And every month that passes, more are lost, spent, or misidentified. Which means your chances of finding one are shrinking. But for now, the opportunity still exists. So before you spend your change, pause. Search. Examine every 1995 penny that crosses your hands. That tiny detail, that shadowed lettering, that subtle doubling, it could change your life, and when it does, remember this moment. Because the day you looked closer, the day you believed that even a single penny could hold a miracle, that was the day everything changed. Your story could be next. All it takes is one rare coin, and the will to look. They said it was just a penny. A common, everyday coin that you toss in a jar and forget about. But one man in Ohio discovered something different, something hidden. When he finally took a second look at the 1998 Lincoln penny sitting quietly in his drawer, it was missing something. There was no mint mark. And that tiny detail made him a millionaire. How is that possible? How could a coin minted in the millions turn into a financial miracle? And why are collectors now desperately hunting through old penny rolls, bank bags, and childhood coin jars to find this one specific variation? Because this isn't just a story about a coin. It's about a life-changing error, buried in plain sight. In 1998, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, most from Philadelphia, some from Denver, and a smaller batch from San Francisco for proof sets. Most 1998 pennies struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark. That's normal. But here's the twist that shocked collectors: a very small number of 1998 pennies were minted with proof quality dies, but ended up in regular circulation. These were supposed to stay in sealed collector's sets, never to touch the hands of the public, but something went wrong. A reverse die designed for the wide AM proof coin accidentally made its way into circulation pennies, and now, a tiny percentage of 1998 Lincoln cents with no mint mark carry that special wide AM reverse, a design only meant for proofs. That spacing between the A and the M in America, it looks subtle. But to a trained eye, it's the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $977,000 jackpot. That it happened before. In 1999, a similar error caused a frenzy. But by 1998, collectors weren't even looking for this mistake, until someone found one. And then another. And then the numismatic world stopped. The 1998 wide AM Lincoln penny with no mint mark is now one of the most sought-after transitional era coins in modern U.S. history. The value of these coins has skyrocketed in auctions, with high-grade examples fetching tens of thousands. One MS-69 example, flawless, untouched, stunned everyone when it nearly broke the $1 million mark, and it's not just about auctions. It's about you. Because this rare coin is still out there, hiding. In coffee cans. In old drawers. In that bag of pennies you forgot in your closet. Thousands of people have passed over it, never noticing the clue sitting right between two letters. So how do you know if your 1998 penny is worth nearly $1 million? First, check for the absence of a mint mark. It should have been minted in Philadelphia. Then, flip it over and look closely at the word America. In a normal 1998 penny, the A and M are touching. But on the rare wide AM error, there's a noticeable gap. That space is the golden key. Still unsure? Use a magnifying glass or a USB microscope. Focus on the FG initials under the right side of the Lincoln Memorial. On the wide AM, those initials are set farther from the building that if your heart is racing right now, it should be. Because people just like you have found this exact coin in pocket change and turned a forgotten cent into a financial miracle. Imagine what you could do with the money: erase debt, buy a home, help your family, finally retire. It's not a fantasy. It's happening. And someone, maybe you, is going to be next. You have to look. You must check. Because the 1998 Lincoln penny with no mint mark and the wide AM reverse is one of the rarest hidden treasures in American coinage, and it might be in your hands right now. They thought it was just another penny. A simple coin from the year 2000, tossed into jars, dropped between couch cushions, and forgotten in glove compartments. But what if I told you that one of those tiny, unmarked coins could be the very thing that changes your life forever? Somewhere in America, someone unknowingly handed over a fortune for a pack of gum. A 2000 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, overlooked, misjudged, and now, possibly worth up to $973,000. And here's the twist: most people wouldn't even recognize it if it was staring them in the face. Think about this. Have you checked your pennies lately? Have you looked close enough? Could you be holding one right now and not even know it? Because buried in the ordinary is something absolutely extraordinary, a mistake by the US Mint so rare, so valuable, it's sending shockwaves through the numismatic world. Let's rewind. The year 2000 marked the start of a new millennium, a time of transition, of uncertainty, and in the middle of that, the Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents. But something happened. A mechanical error. A lapse in inspection. And suddenly, a handful of coins were struck without the standard P or D mint mark. These weren't proof coins. These weren't from San Francisco. These were circulation coins, coins meant for pocket change. And yet, something was wrong. Collectors started whispering about it in forums. A few sharp-eyed hobbyists noticed the anomaly: no mint mark. Just the date. 2000, Lincoln's solemn profile. And a blank space where there should have been a letter. Most dismissed it as nothing. But then came the sales. Quiet, private deals. A collector in Florida paid over $86,000 for one in pristine condition. And then, silence again, until another surfaced. This time, a jaw-dropping $973,000. Because rarity isn't just about age. It's about mistakes. And this wasn't just a minting flaw, it was a ghost. A coin that wasn't supposed to exist. No mint mark in a year where every circulating coin should have had one. Only a few were ever found. Most are still out there. Lost in drawers. Circulating in change. Maybe even sitting in your pocket right now. Now here's where it gets even more intense. Some of these 2000 Lincoln pennies look completely normal, until you really study them. The absence of the mint mark isn't a worn-out stamp or a smudged strike. It's clean. It's intentional. It's as if the mint forgot to include the identifier altogether. And because only a fraction of these errors slipped past inspection, the number of known specimens is shockingly low. Experts estimate less than 20 have surfaced in collectible condition that a retired machinist from Ohio found his in a roll he got from the bank. He almost spent it. Then something made him pause. He flipped it. Studied it. Noticed the strange absence of a mint mark. Sent it in. When it came back graded MS-68 red, the offers began flooding in. One collector offered him a brand new Ford F-150. Another offered $190,000. He held out. Last we heard, that penny sold privately for well over $400,000. So how can you know if you have one? Start by checking every 2000 Lincoln penny in your collection. Focus on the area just below the date. If there's no P, no D, and the coin doesn't look like a proof, pay attention. These coins must be authenticated by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC. Only certified examples will command premium prices. Next, examine the details. The coin should be sharply struck. The "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" inscriptions should be crisp. If everything matches, and that mint mark is truly missing, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history. Now, here's the most emotional part of this story. Coins like this aren't just metal. They're second chances. They're the unexpected phone call that changes everything. They're the reason a retired teacher in Kansas paid off her mortgage in one weekend. The reason a single dad in Oregon bought a house for his kids. These aren't just coins, they're miracles disguised as pennies, and you don't need a vault or a museum to find one. You need your eyes. Your curiosity. And a little hope. Because buried in everyday change could be your moment. Your breakthrough. Your shot at a completely different life. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore the pennies. Search them. Study them. Because one tiny detail, the absence of a single letter, could be worth nearly $1 million, and if you do find one, don't hesitate. Get it certified. Share your discovery. Because the world is watching. The market is hungry. And your story could be next.